They thought it was just a fun DNA test, until the results triggered a police alert, exposed a hidden identity, and uncovered a chilling secret buried in their family's past. What began in their grandmother's attic would unravel a mystery that could destroy or redefine everything they believed about who they were. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. The old house stood quietly at the edge of the village, wrapped in silence and shadow. Tall trees whispered outside the windows, and every wooden floorboard inside groaned with age. After the funeral, the house had felt even heavier, like it was holding its breath. Lena and Morel, two sisters who looked nearly the same but thought very differently, had come to help clean their late grandmother's attic. It had been weeks since she passed, and their mother had gently asked them to sort through her belongings. The attic was the last space left untouched. "This place smells like old stories," Lena whispered as she stepped up the narrow ladder. Morel followed behind, holding a flashlight. Dust floated in the air like tiny memories. Boxes were stacked high, some labeled in faded ink, others left blank. Old trunks, broken chairs, and yellowed photo albums filled the space. The air was dry and smelled like dried flowers and forgotten things. Morel pulled out a small box from the shadows and sat on an old trunk. "Look at this," she said, holding it up. Lena knelt beside her. The box was thin and white with soft blue writing across the top. It said, "Ancestry Journey." Inside were 2 sealed tubes, an instruction sheet, and return envelopes. The kit looked completely untouched. "Did Grandma ever say she wanted to do a DNA test?" Lena asked, brushing off the dust. "Nope, maybe someone gave it to her and she forgot," Morel replied. Lena smiled with a spark in her eyes. "What if we finish it for her? It could be fun. Maybe there's something cool in our family tree. A pirate, a queen, something wild." Morel laughed. She was careful and calm, always reading directions before doing anything. Lena, on the other hand, was the one who acted first and thought later. "All right," Morel said, "but let's do it properly." They followed the steps carefully. Lena swabbed her cheek with excitement. Morel double-checked the vials before sealing them. Within 10 minutes, their samples were ready to send. "I hope we're part something." "Exotic," Lena said with a grin. "Or maybe we're descended from someone important," Morel added, tying the package shut. Neither of them thought much more about it after that. The kit was mailed the next day, and the attic cleaning continued. They found old letters, music records, and birthday cards from decades ago. There was no mention of the test again until 2 weeks later. On a rainy afternoon, Lena opened the email inbox on her phone and saw the message. "Hey, our results are in!" she shouted from her bedroom. Morel rushed over, her hands still, wet from washing dishes. They both stared at the screen as it loaded. "Look, we're a mix of European and West African." "That's kind of expected," Morel said, scrolling slowly. "Wait," Lena pointed. A red alert box blinked on the page. It read, "Significant findings detected. Specialist consultation recommended." The room went quiet. "What does that mean?" Morel asked, her voice lower now. "I don't know," Lena replied, her smile fading. "Maybe it's a health thing." Just then their mother walked past the door. "Mom, can you come look at this?" Morel called out. Their mother stepped inside and looked over their shoulders. The moment she read the alert, her expression changed. Her eyes narrowed. Her jaw tightened. "Let's not panic," she said, but her voice trembled. "We'll take this to Dr. Nolan tomorrow. He'll help us understand. Is something wrong?" Lena asked gently. Their mother shook her head too quickly. "Probably not. It's just, I want to be sure. Let's not talk to anyone else about this yet." The sisters exchanged a glance. Something about the way their mother looked made their hearts beat a little faster. The air around them felt different now. Heavier. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She kept rereading the email, trying to understand what was so serious. Morel sat by the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. The question neither of them could say aloud hung silently between them. Why would a DNA test need a doctor and a warning? The next morning, The family drove together to the clinic. No one said much in the car. Their mother kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other gripping a tissue. She didn't let go of it once. Dr. Nolan greeted them kindly, but as soon as he opened the DNA file, his smile disappeared. He flipped through the pages, stopping suddenly. Then he stood. "Give me a moment," he said quietly and stepped out of the room. The three of them sat in silence. The ticking of the clock felt louder than usual. Every second felt like a minute. "Mom," Morel whispered. "What's happening?" "I don't know," her mother answered, but her hands were shaking in her lap. Outside the room, quiet footsteps approached. When the door opened again, two strangers entered behind Dr. Nolan, two police officers, both serious and quiet. "Lena, Morel," one of them said, "we need to ask you both to come with us." "What?" Their mother stood up quickly. "They're just kids. What's going on?" "There's a matter we need to discuss in private," the officer said. "Your daughter's DNA matched evidence from an open investigation. We can't say more here." Lena's heart dropped. Morel's breath caught in her chest. Their mother looked frozen in place. "This isn't happening," Lena whispered. But it was. And it had only just begun. The car ride to the police station was quiet. The rain had stopped, but the clouds still hung low and heavy. Lena stared out the window, her reflection staring back at her with wide eyes. Morel sat close to their mother in the back seat, gripping her hand tightly. None of them spoke. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was holding its breath. When they arrived, an officer led them through the building. The station was cold and quiet, filled with people moving quickly and speaking in low voices. They were taken to a small room with white walls, a metal table, and 3 plain chairs. The officer asked them to wait. Then he left, closing the door softly behind him. Lena looked around. "What is this place?" she whispered. "An interview room," their mother said, her voice thin. She was trying to stay strong, but her hands kept trembling in her lap. Morel leaned closer to Lena. "This has to be a mistake," she whispered. "It's just a test. A fun test." Before Lena could respond, the door opened. A tall man with tired eyes and a clean shirt stepped in. He closed the door gently and sat across from them. "I'm Detective Carmen Little," he said. "I know this is a lot. I'm here to help, but I need to ask you some questions." "Why are we here?" their mother asked quickly. "My daughters haven't done anything wrong." "They haven't," the detective said calmly. "But the DNA results you submitted triggered a match in our system. It connected to a case we've been trying to solve for 17 years. Lena blinked. "A case?" Detective Liddell opened a folder and placed a printed document on the table. Highlighted in red at the bottom were the words, "Familial match found, case code 1447. This code," he explained, "belongs to an unsolved case from almost 2 decades ago. The evidence we found at that scene has matched DNA from both of you and you." Morel leaned forward. "But we were babies 17 years ago." "Exactly." The detective nodded. "That's what makes this so strange. The match is not direct. It points to someone close to you, someone related to you." Their mother went pale. "No, there must be a mistake." "We thought so too." "At first," Liddell replied, "but the system is accurate, and the match is strong." Lena felt her heart thudding in her chest. "What kind of case is this?" Detective Liddell paused before answering. "It's an abduction case. A child went missing. No one was ever found, but some biological evidence was recovered. DNA that we couldn't trace until now." "You think we're related to whoever took that child?" Morel asked, barely able to get the words out. "It's possible," Liddell said carefully, "but we don't know how yet. That's why we need your help." Their mother suddenly stood up. "This is nonsense. My family is not part of anything like that." Lena looked at her confused. "But what if Grandma knew something?" The room went still. Detective Little leaned in. "Your grandmother, did she ever talk about unusual events from the past? People who visited?" Anything secret? Their mother shook her head. No. She was private, but never anything like this. Morel hesitated. We found her old journals. Boxes of them. She never let us read them before. Those journals might help, Liddell said. Would you be willing to bring them here? Their mother opened her mouth to refuse, but then slowly nodded. Yes, we'll bring them. As they left the station, the sky was beginning to darken again. The clouds seemed even heavier than before. No one spoke on the ride home. The only sound was the tires on wet pavement and the soft hum of the engine. Back at the house, the girls went straight to the attic. They found the journals just as they had left them, in a box tied with an old ribbon. The leather covers were cracked with age, and the pages smelled like dust and time. They carried the box downstairs and placed it on the living room table. Their mother sat beside them, her hands folded tightly. Are you sure you want to read them now? She asked. Lena nodded. We need to know. Morel opened the first journal. The writing was neat and small. The first pages were simple. Recipes, dates, small memories. Then, halfway through, the tone changed. She read aloud. The night it happened. I couldn't sleep. I heard the car stop. A man left something at the door. I didn't want to look, but when I did, I saw the carrier. Inside were 2 babies. Lena's hand flew to her mouth. Morel kept reading. I couldn't turn them away. I knew they weren't safe. I had to protect them. No names, no note, just fear in his eyes. I made a promise. I will keep them safe. They sat in silence. She's talking about us, Lena whispered. Their mother shook her head, her eyes full of tears. I don't understand. I thought you were mine. Morel gently touched her mother's hand. You are our mother, no matter what. Outside, the wind picked up. The world felt different now. Nothing had changed. Yet everything had. But the journals were only the beginning. What they were about to uncover next would test everything they believed about family, love, and truth. The living room felt like a different place now. The walls seemed closer, the air heavier. The journals sat between them like quiet messengers from the past. Lena, Morel, and their mother stared at the open page, not sure what to say next. She took us in. Lena whispered, her voice trembling. Someone left us at the door and she just kept us. Morel flipped slowly through the next pages. The entries were dated 17 years ago. Her grandmother's words were clear and careful, like she knew someone might read them one day. He said they were in danger, Morel read. He begged me to take them, said it was the only way to keep them alive. I didn't believe him, at first. But his eyes, they were full of fear. Their mother covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes as she listened. I didn't know any of this, she said quietly. I swear to you both I didn't know. Lena reached for another journal, one with a worn leather cover. She turned to the back where a paper had been folded and pressed flat between the pages. She opened it slowly. What is it? Morel asked. Lena held it up. Birth certificates, she said softly. They read them together. Both documents listed the mother's name as unknown, but the father's name was written clearly. Leif Harkin. That name. Their mother's voice faded. I don't know him. Detective Liddell might, Lena said. The next morning, they returned to the police station with the journals and birth certificates. Detective Liddell met them in a quiet room. When he saw the name on the paper, he went still. Leif Harkin, he said. I haven't heard that name in years. Do you know him? Morel asked. The detective nodded slowly. He was the prime suspect in the abduction case. We believed he was part of a human trafficking group, but he vanished before we could arrest him. The case went cold. Lena's heart sank. You think he's our biological father? Based on the DNA match and these documents, Liddell said. It looks that way. Their mother shook her head. But why leave them at my mother's door? Why not go to the police? Maybe he was running, the detective said. Maybe he thought leaving them with someone he trusted would keep them safe. Safe from what? Morel asked. Detective Liddell sighed. We don't know, but if your grandmother wrote all this down, she must have believed the danger was real. They handed over the journals, and the detective promised to have his team read through every word. He told them to go home and rest, but rest didn't come easily that night. Back at the house, the sisters sat on the porch, wrapped in old blankets. The stars above were clear, but neither of them looked up. They were lost in thoughts that felt too big to understand. Do you think Grandma knew the truth? Morel asked softly. She must have, Lena said. She said she looked at us every day and wondered if we'd ever find out. Morel looked down at her hands. We're not who we thought we were. Lena turned to her. No, but we're still us. Their mother came out with tea and joined them on the steps. She sat between them, placing a hand on each of their backs. I may not have given birth to you, she said, but I raised you. I held you when you cried. I cheered for you at school plays. I loved you every single day. We know, Mom, Lena said. And that won't change, Morel added. Inside, the phone rang. Their mother went in to answer it. When she came back, her face was pale again. That was Detective Liddell, she said. They found something else in the journals, an entry that might explain more. They returned to the station in the morning. The detective was waiting for them with a file in his hand. This entry stood out, he said, placing the paper on the table. Morel read it aloud. He came back. I told him I didn't know where they were. He didn't believe me. Said he would return, said they belonged to him. I was scared. I told him to leave. He threatened her, Lena said. He tried to take us back. Detective Liddell nodded. It seems your grandmother was hiding you from him. She protected you. Morel stared at the words. So, he wasn't trying to hurt us? Or was he? We don't know his full story, the detective said. But we do. No, your grandmother made a choice. She chose to keep you hidden. And that choice likely saved your lives. They sat quietly, letting the truth sink in. The man they had never met, the man who gave them life, had also put them in danger. And the woman they had called Grandma had carried that secret until the end. Will you try to find him? Lena asked. We're reopening the case, Liddell said. But it's been years. He could be anywhere. As they left the station, Morel looked at her sister. We were born in the middle of something dark, she said. But we were raised in light, Lena replied. The truth was painful, but it also made sense. Their family had been built on love, not blood. And even though they didn't have all the answers, they knew who they were where it counted most. The shadows in the journals had shown them the past. Now it was time to face whatever came next. The days that followed were quiet but heavy. The house no longer felt like home. It felt like a museum of secrets. Each room whispered questions that no one knew how to answer. Lena and Morel stayed, close to their mother, who now moved slower, her face tired from everything they had learned. Detective Liddell called often. His voice was always calm, but every update seemed to carry more weight. The search for Life Harkin was active again. A few old leads had been found, but he was still out there, somewhere. The sisters spent most evenings reading the last of their grandmother's journals. They searched for clues, anything that could help. Most entries spoke of fear, guilt, and a strong desire to protect. One evening, Morel found something different. It was a note tucked inside a book written on yellow paper, folded many times. It was dated a year before their grandmother's death. She read it aloud. I never told them. I couldn't. How do you say to a child, you were never mine, but I loved you more than life itself? I gave them everything I had, but the truth was always there, waiting to be found. I pray that when they learn it, they'll understand I chose love, not lies. Lena felt tears in her eyes. She didn't lie to hurt us, she whispered. She lied to protect us. Their mother nodded, wiping her eyes. And she raised you with love. More love than most people ever know. That night they sat on the back porch watching the wind move through the trees. The stars above blinked softly, like silent witnesses to their story. Do you think he'll come back again? Lena asked. I don't know, Morel replied. But I'm not afraid. Me neither, Lena said, because no matter what, we have each other. A few days later, Detective Liddell called again. This time, his voice was different. We found something, he said. The family returned to the station. In a private room, Liddell laid out the new information. A man matching Leif Harkin's description had been seen in a nearby town years ago, using a different name. A storage unit had recently been opened in his name, and inside, police found boxes of old documents, photos, and one final surprise. He left a letter, Liddell said, handing them a sealed envelope. Morel opened it slowly, her fingers trembling. She read it aloud. If you are reading this, then you've found the truth. I don't expect forgiveness. I never deserved it. I did terrible things, and when I realized what I had done, I ran. I couldn't protect you the way I wanted to. Your grandmother gave you the life I couldn't. She was stronger than I ever was. I left you with her not because I didn't care, but because I did. It was the only good thing I've ever done. I hope you live full lives better than mine. I'm sorry. Lena sat in silence for a long time after that. Then she folded the letter and placed it back into the envelope. He was a broken man, she said softly. But he gave us to someone who gave us everything. Morel nodded. We can't change where we came from, but we can choose who we become. They left the station without anger. There was sadness, yes, and confusion, but there was also peace. The truth no longer scared them. It was theirs now, and they would carry it together. Weeks passed. The media stopped calling. The village quieted down. Life, little by little, returned to normal, or something close to it. Lena went back to her art classes. Morel returned to her books. Their mother, though still shaken, smiled more often now. They found comfort in daily routines, in shared meals, and in soft hugs that lasted a little longer than before. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the hills, the three of them sat on the porch again. The sky turned orange and pink, painting the world in warm light. Grandma gave us a second chance at life, Morel said, and Mom gave us love without question, Lena added. Their mother looked at them with quiet pride. Family, she said, is not about DNA. It's about the people who stand with you when things fall apart. They sat in silence, letting the moment settle around them. Do you ever wonder what life would have been like if we'd stayed with him? Morel asked. Lena shook her head. I don't need to wonder. I'm happy where I am. Me too, Morel said, smiling. As darkness covered the village, their hearts felt lighter. They had faced the storm. They had walked through the shadows. And now, they stood in the light. Their story had started with a simple test, but it became something far greater. A journey through truth, fear, and love. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't easy, but it was real, and it was theirs. So when people asked who they were, they didn't hesitate anymore. They were daughters, they were sisters, they were survivors, and they had chosen love.